Investigators, Mike Evans, Casey Pine and Andrew Bulldog with episode 298 of Spy Curious, the Australian weekly news program for licensed private investigators in regard to what's been happening this week in investigations. How are you, Casey?
Amazing.
Had a busy week?
Yes, always.
Very good. Apart from the caravan show today, Andrew, which you took the morning off to go and see, you've had a busy week too.
I didn't go, mate. I was too busy. So I ended up staying home and working.
Check it out on the internet. DJ, great to see you, mate. Thanks for checking in. Oh, boy, have we got some stuff to get through today. Andrew, what are you going to be talking about later, mate?
I'm going to be talking about going to the IFW Global event last week in Sydney in relation to cybercrime.
Rightio, okay. Casey, what do you got for us?
I'm talking about our new coercive control and domestic violence module that will be in all of our teaching materials moving forward.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Have you done that previously today?
Yes, I just spent an hour talking about it on Investigations Uni, which was very good.
It was very well received, a very serious subject, and I'm glad to say that everybody took it seriously. So well done, Casey. It was really good presentation, very enlightening about keeping everybody up to date with that. If you're an Australian Security Academy student, you can check out what Casey was talking about today on Investigations Uni, and you can see that there. Andrew, I'll be back to you in a minute, mate, just in relation to last week, but it's just a couple of things I've got to cover. ProCare people are looking for report writers for insurance investigations. So that's the ProCare group. They operate nationwide. Brookside are looking for experienced general insurance investigators in New South Wales. Great opportunity to pick up general insurance work, which is fantastic work because in investigations, it's the area most likely to strike fraud. I have available through a client of mine, an organisation in New South Wales who's looking for 12 investigators. If you are an Australian Security Academy graduate and you want to be set up in your own investigation business by that client who is going to onboard you, look after you and grow you into the industry, this is an amazing offer, all right? And you are licensed, they want to speak to you. Morris J. Kerrigan and Associates are looking for factual investigators down in Victoria. They have the TAC contract, so they have CTP liability investigations, WorkSafe investigations, that sort of thing. This is a great job if you want investigation work and lifestyle. So it's a corporate investigation role at the Gold Coast Hospital, and they're offering up to $146,000 and almost 13% in superannuation. I wouldn't say no to that. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Workplace integrity investigator. There's 2 positions available at the University of Melbourne. So what's the big deal with that? Well, pre-COVID, university education was Australia's second biggest export outside of coal. Now, it took a bit of a hit around COVID times, but there are always new generations of potential university students coming through globally, and that is starting to come back now. So holding the integrity of what they do at Melbourne University is really important to their reputational risk. Seems to be a bit of a common theme with what we're talking about today throughout our programs, reputational risk, and that's why they need that role. I was lucky enough to be one of those people at a university for probably 3 years. You'll never get more interesting work than what they're offering you, and you don't need a private investigator's license because it's an internal role. You're only investigating people around the university. And universities, they have their own act. So even security guards on university campuses, although they don't have to be licensed. That's kind of freaky, isn't it? So we talk about jurisdictions. Universities are a complete different jurisdiction. Now, something happens to a university student here staying at the university outside there, that's a whole different thing. But generally, that work for the integrity investigator is going to be involved around complaints about education, study, examination, that sort of thing. So you'll be doing that. Ernst Young are looking for vetters. Very interesting. Ernst Young are looking for vetters, for security vetters down in Canberra. Everybody's looking for security vetters at the moment. And Wise Workplace in Melbourne are after an office manager's role. So you'll be receiving the instructions, issuing instructions, coordinating the office admin team. Not an easy job, is it, Andrew? In office admin, in investigation agencies, they're constantly. You've got your microphone switched off, Andrew. I'll switch you on. Hang on.
Yep,
There you go. Not an easy job being an office admin, is it, mate? They're thankless job, that one.
I don't think I would want to spend another day doing that job, to be honest.
Or, and as Andrew will say, what you do in that role that Wise are offering, and they're offering up to $90,000 for a great place to work, nothing wrong with that. Office admin generally in investigations, you're going to be chasing the same people every week for the same missing things from their instructions. A missing witness statement, missing photographs, missing scene inspection. You're constantly chasing those because every investigation has a time limit and it's got to be in the mail tonight in relation to getting sorted. So let's get back to Andrew. Andrew, tell us about what you went to last week. What was it like, huh?
Yeah, I went to the IFW Global Summit last week on cybercrime in Sydney. It was an absolutely fantastic event. I met a lot of very interesting people, including some foreign dignitaries from Cambodia, Thailand, and also the Philippines. These people were generally in police and were the heads of cybercrime in their countries and had a lot to say about particularly cybercrime and scams occurring throughout Southeast Asia, which appears to be the crime hub of the world at the present time.
Fantastic. So what were some of the speakers that you enjoyed? What were they talking about? What's trending in financial crime, mate?
Well, they were talking a lot about cryptocurrency and how they're scamming people and then moving the money from bank accounts held by mum and dad's investors who have got their superannuation funds or whatever else, and they move the money over to cryptocurrency, and then when it gets moved to cryptocurrency, generally speaking, you can't get it back because of cross-border jurisdiction.
Wow. All right. So they're selling that as an investment that's rapidly rising and people falling for it, and it's gone as soon as they buy it.
Well, it's worth $10.7 trillion a year worldwide. So that tells you that I suppose the law enforcement can't keep up with what's going on, because the cyber criminals are generally people that are accountants or people that are very educated people who are a lot smarter than what the law enforcement are, and they're fighting a bit of a losing battle by the looks of things.
Wow. Okay. All right. So it went for 2 days. Did you meet Ken Gamble himself, who was the person running it?
I did, but having said that, Ken was pretty busy because he was obviously the host. So I sent him an email and I spoke to his counterpart, Alan Watson. And Alan was giving me some tips and some introductions to a few people, which hopefully I can follow up on that. And those people have come back to me, so I've just got to meet up with them when they're next available. And so that was quite good.
While you were at that conference, DJ Evan was at a scam conference over in the States, and he was doing a 3-day event over there, meeting people on exactly the same thing. And he made some connections, as he's just mentioned there in our chat with Interpol. Good on you, Evan. Thanks for letting us know, mate. And they are interested in chasing this sort of stuff. They're right into it. All right. So do you think, Andrew, that is going to become part of your investigation skill set in the future, financial crime?
Well, I'm actually looking at a university course at the present time in open source intelligence and cybercrime. I'm still trying to work out what I want to do there, whether I've got enough time to do it around the amount of investigations I've currently got on.
Okay, all right. Fantastic, mate. That's great. All right. So I really appreciate you coming in to tell us that and keep us up to date in relation to that. Now, one of the questions I got this week, people, was how much do they pay as a subcontractor in investigations? That was my question. It wasn't, dear Mike, really think your Spy Curious is absolutely fantastic. What have you done with your hair? Have you lost weight? Your jokes are really funny. It wasn't any of that. It's just, how much do they pay in as a subcontractor in investigations? Now, simple as that. And I thought, must be some kind of new way of communicating with people, short, sharp, online. And I thought, why would I even bother answering that? And I'm not, because they pay on the basis of your ability to communicate like a human being, your ability to understand what you put your hand up and got license for, because a subcontractor could be subcontracting for financial crime investigations, could be subcontracting for public liability insurance investigations, motor vehicle accident investigations, workers' compensation investigations, slip, trip and fall investigations, hit by moving object investigations, motor vehicle accident, stolen motor vehicle general insurance investigations. They're all different and they all carry different rates of pay. If you've gone and studied a course that didn't tell you that, and you have no idea what you're doing, your potential pay rate as a subcontractor will be zero. If you did the right course, you know what you're doing. You know how to take a statement. You know how to conduct a record of interview, write a report, and interact with vulnerable clients and people like a human being and communicate with them like a human being. Your starting salary in the industry will be around about $35 to $40 an hour, depending on who you work for and what you do. That's starting. As I said last week, with experience, as your reports get better, as your statements get better, and if we all remember Andrew's first statement, which was atrocious compared to what they're like now, wasn't it, Andrew?
I don't know. I can't remember. Well, I'm taking that anyway. I'm taking the fifth.
My first surveillance video, they made me go and do it again because I was shaking so much as I was filming it. You couldn't see the subject in the video. I was so terrified, right? So, it's not like that now. Okay, it's not like that at all. So as you get experience, as you get improving, today you're going to end up around about $75 an hour, that sort of area. But there are full-time jobs now available in investigations, and it comes down to your knowledge of what you're doing, how well you do it, and your pay will be in line with that. As I said last week, I know people that earn $500, $75 an hour for investigations that they do. They've got degrees in human resources and industrial relations, and they're lawyers. Fair enough. Okay. It doesn't stop at being an investigator. You just heard Andrew say he was going to do an OSINT course and open source intelligence course, and which would have to be in the last 10 years Andrew's 15th course.
Yeah, probably at least six, I think. At least 6 or 7.
6 or 7, right? This is lifetime learners earn the income. People who want to test it and not stick with it and not commit to it, the income is not congruent with that. So keep that in mind, all right? So just to answer that question, very important, it'll come down to your qualifications and what your capability is. G'day, Amber. Great to see you down in beautiful Canberra. And Evan's corrected me on it. It was the Global Anti-Scam Summit in Washington, DC, and it was fantastic. He really enjoyed it. And Jai wants to know, they're doing blockchain investigations, which that's related to crypto, isn't it, Casey?
Yeah. So there's Evan is a blockchain investigator. It's very good at it because you can. It's with cryptocurrency. It's on an immutable ledger, and you can track it, which is all well and good. They use organized crime use tumblers and washers to try and mix it up as much as possible, but usually you can trace a certain amount. And that's why KYC rules, know your customer rules around cryptocurrency exchanges are getting just as heavy as your banks in Australia and around the world, so that when you trace that stolen money in the cryptocurrency, you can find who pulls it out at the end, ideally.
It was funny, Casey, because the CBA was actually at the summit I went to, and they actually turned around and said what they've done is they've stopped transactions for at least 24 hours that are going to cryptocurrency accounts. And since they've done that, the crime rate has gone down 50%.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I am a cryptocurrency investor. I've been into cryptocurrency for a long time. I've done courses on blockchain investigations, and it's one of those things that if they stopped my money going to an exchange, I'd be really mad. But at the same time, it is a massive issue, and we need to take measures to protect your everyday people who are falling for this. And when I say everyday people, they're not stupid people. I've worked for professors, lawyers, intelligent people, everyday people who have fallen for these scams because they are sophisticated scams. You get your logins and you see the charts, and they have beautiful websites, and they have people that call you and speak to you who have supposedly big offices in Sydney. Or their financial planners, they are elaborate scams.
The big problem was the VPNs that they were using to disguise their location, and also they were using tracking software where they were disguising their accents in their voice, calling from, say, the Philippines or Thailand or other countries, and saying that they're from somewhere where they're not, and then you can't tell who they are, you can't tell the accent. So. Yeah.
But see, and that's the thing, is that people need to be educated and have access to tools to be able to check to see whether these people are reliable. Like, I've got friends they'll call me and say, hey, this person wants me to invest $10,000 here. Can you just have a quick look? That's how I started Quick Look, and see if these are legitimate people. And they're using stolen ABNs, they're using stolen AFRs, and I can quickly tell in the back end of the website that it's Hong Kong or in the Philippines or Nigeria is often, or they're using services to completely obfuscate the identity of the person who owns the website, which is just a massive red flag and an absolute no from me. So it doesn't take people who know what to look for long to distinguish whether it's a fraud or not, because speaking to someone on the phone now, as Andrew said, it's not good enough. Voice changes are incredible. Like
The number one tip they gave us, for those that are out there listening, was that if you're dubious or you've got concerns about somebody and maybe they're a scammer, ask them to do something such as a Zoom meeting, and that where you can actually see them in person. And if they refuse to do that or say it's against their policy, that's a pretty big no for me. Time to walk away.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to make sure that they're financially registered. I want to make sure that, I can check to make sure a license is legitimate. That's within my wheelhouse, and because I've got Quick Look that can do that for people. So that's types of things that I do. I go above and beyond because, and as Evan has just put up, deep fake videos are getting better and better. And they also, they pay people they will pay some random in Sydney to wear a suit, like just the top half, and sit there and have a call with you for half an hour. And it's organized crime. It's just so insidious, and it's big money. And Australians are very trusting. So
one of the big things they were saying about, in particular the Philippines, they were saying that the person doing the scamming could be getting paid as much as 10 million pesos a day. Now, for those that don't know, 500 pesos per day is the average wage in the Philippines, between 4. So they're getting so much more. Yeah,
it's huge money. It's wild, and this is why. And it's just one of those things that it comes back to, like the ethics of being removed from people. And when you're in a different country, scamming someone in like a wealthier country It's like, oh, they can afford it. They'll be fine. They live in Australia. I know that the Yahoo boys out in Nigeria, definitely, when they train their people, they train them to put aside their ethics. And it's just like, they're people in Australia. They've got insurances. They've got this. They've got that. They have access to everything. Like, they don't care that they destroy the mom and pop investors. They don't care because they assume that, like, they're in Australia, they're going to be fine. And comparatively, like, to sometimes their circumstances, we are fine, but it's not. It's not fine. It destroys lives. So
we're the number one target for scammers in the world.
Yeah.
Because we're so trusting.
Yeah.
So that came out of the summit, and
Yeah.
it wasn't too good. And there was other things like the cross jurisdictional issues where basically someone goes in from Thailand, they jump over to Cambodia, they commit the crime, and then they jump back, and they can't do anything about it because there's no jurisdictional source for them to do it.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It's a billion-dollar industry, and it's getting worse. And the banks have been very gracious in paying a lot of people back. They're starting to put their foot down and saying, no, you sent the money. It's not going to fly, because you can just imagine how much insurance premiums are going up for banks. I mean, I know banks make a lot of money, but again, it's not the bank's fault. And people demanding their money back from banks has just been really fascinating. But yeah, that law about being able to freeze the bank account was that in Malaysia?
That's CBA.
Okay, CBA. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, there was another country that actually has brought that in recently, across the board, and given the banks the power to do that, whereas they didn't have that power before.
The big problem that I see from all this is you're not going to have your drug dealer standing on the corner anymore selling dime bags or anything, or going to the airport and hoping he gets a shipment through for a couple $1 million, when he could be scamming mum and dads and making $100 million per year plus. There's two guys that just got done recently for $98 million in Australia, and there's two people within the space of 8 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're in the wrong industry.
But it tells you all out there that these kinds of investigations are going to be absolutely huge in the future, and it's a massive opportunity there if you're prepared to spend the time and get the education and training now and make the contacts with people by going to the summits or going to university or whatever you do, going to seminars.
Yeah.
But you need to strike while the iron's hot. Yeah.
Yeah. And investigations is evolving, and like I tell anyone that's coming through, it's a really exciting time to be an investigator, because, as I consistently say, is that we're more professional, we're better educated, we're licensed, and we have so many opportunities. It's not just surveillance or factual anymore. It's so broad. It's really evolving. It's evolving fast.
Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Andrew. We're just out of time now for our 30 minutes. I really appreciate you coming in. Did you, Casey, could you just tell us about what you spoke about Investigations Uni, just so the people that missed it will go over and have a look?
Yeah, I will just share my screen quickly. So now, as part of your course at the Australian Security Academy, there will be a module on domestic violence and the new laws coming out about coercive control. So I did a whole hour in-depth run through on this. I will do a quick run through. So just again, a warning, this is about domestic violence and coercive control, which can be quite triggering for some people. So this is your warning to leave if it's something that you don't feel like you can deal with right now on a Friday afternoon, which I totally understand. So coercive control, specifically, coercive control is when someone uses a pattern of abusive behaviors over time that hurt, humiliate, isolate, frighten, or threaten another person in order to control or dominate them. And so New South Wales was the first state in Australia to criminalise this as a standalone offence on the 1st of July this year. So New South Wales are leading the charge on this, which is amazing. They've done some incredible work around amending their crimes, Domestic and Personal Violence Act 2007. And it's, as you can see there, that they're not able to charge people retrospectively. So if it happened before the 1st of July 2024, they cannot be charged with it. But if it happens after, they can be. And one of the key things about this is when you see coercive control, it's a pattern of abusive behaviours. It's not a specific act like once off, like sexual assault or domestic violence, like abuse is an act that you can be charged for, whereas coercive control is a pattern of abusive behaviours over time. So it takes longer to prove because you have to prove out that pattern of abusive behaviours. So we won't be seeing people necessarily charged with this for a good few months yet in New South Wales because it's only just come into effect this year in July. And yeah, we go through a whole bunch of stuff, red flags to look out for with investigators, a case study around John Edwards, who used private investigators for that. You've got your risks to investigators and best practices for investigators as well. So that will be in our course for new investigators coming through, well, for investigators who still have access to their course. It'll all be there as of next week.
Getting the microphone off. Thanks, Casey. That's really great. Really appreciate that update. Just got to cover just a few quick things. What's happened around the place this week. So everybody give us a big Friday smile, okay, because it's Friday, so it's our favourite day of the week because we're just about finished. I promised everybody that they've been enjoying our quotes during the week, so I'm going to give a quote in a minute from one of the most informed people on TV in relation to crime fighting. I'm sure you'll all remember it. The program that I watched this morning from Allied Universal in relation to looking at false documents, it was called Third Eye Advanced Technology. And what this does, it checks PDFs, digital photos and government-issued licenses, like your private investigator license, your driver's license, that sort of thing, to see if they're real or not. So it was a really good 30-minute program that I watched. This is one of the things I constantly push for CPD for people. So they went through a case study, the usual XF data, and they gave the usual insurance fraud one about the photos taken after the accident. The insurance taken out after the photos were taken based on the XF data and all that sort of thing. They gave examples of actual fake documents. So we're not exposing anybody here. These are all fakes. That's what they said. So basically that's examples of it. You can use their services through Allied Universal. Their costs are there for running it through their Third Eye machine to check if it's real or not. One of the things they saw trending was they were stealing passports and stuff like that and only changing the photographs. So everything else, which was stolen and was actual real from a real person, it was just the photograph that was being basically changed. And they alerted us all to this really great website, fake driver's license website. It's Stealth Documents. You can go to Stealth Documents and you can order your fake ID. You can order an Australian fake driver's license on Stealth Documents. So you can go there and get a driver's license for Queensland, Victoria, whatever. Good thing you can't get a fake private investigator license off there, so bad luck, people. Might come in handy, Andrew, if you lose all your points. You can replace your license.
It doesn't work on the police.
I don't think it's a smart idea to be playing with anything like that.
So anyway, this week, people, if you missed it, it's been Fraud Week, and our friends at RSM, where Casey was speaking a couple of weeks ago at their industry association down in Victoria. Here's Roger and Melinda and the team, Mike, all going through frauds that they've investigated. So they gave a free webinar on it this week at RSM. And they spoke about the frauds they spoke about, but basically you can see them all on the Australian Security Academy YouTube channel. They were talking about all the frauds that were spoken about there. The frauds they're dealing with, the big accounting firms, are pretty much the same as they always have been. So that's quite interesting to know that, and I was pleased with that. This came out this week. Bunnings aren't allowed to film their customers anymore. It's against privacy. So if Bunnings want to do surveillance on people who they think are stealing, they're going to have to employ licensed surveillance operatives and have those people followed individually, not just en masse for you to go into Bunnings to have a hot dog and a wander around to see what hedge trimmers look like anymore. So that's really important. Bunnings have been caught out there. They're going to appeal against it. Good luck to them. That will be interesting. What else has been happening this week? A whole lot of stuff.
I can understand why Bunnings do that, and there is a lot of companies coming out with this facial recognition technology now, and it is to keep people safer, but there are ethical considerations around this, just like with any new technology, which you might say that you use it ethically and you do dispose of the people's facial features and the identities that you do collect. You might dispose of them ethically, or say you dispose of them ethically, but do you? And
all three of us are on the Bunnings database now. Nothing we can do about it. So they're told us.
That's funny. That's funny, Mike, because years ago, Bunnings used to spend an absolute fortune on surveillance, which I'm aware of, using Private Investigator. So the fact it's gone the other way around really surprises me.
Well, it's going to go back to that now because they can't do that one anymore. So that's gone. Now they've got to follow them out of the shop to wherever they're based and collecting it all and selling it on, whatever they're selling it on. So that's interesting. Park Ranger down in Tasmania, operating at, I think it was Macquarie Island. Macquarie Island. She injured a thumb on first day of her job, put in a claim, and her claim was argued by the employer that it wasn't a substantial injury. But anyway, the injury now has been accepted at the statutory phase, not because it got into the newspapers, but because she was treated by a doctor on the day of the injury. She accepted his advice, and it was probably good advice that it would repair, and it didn't. And when she got back from Macquarie Island months later, she put in her claim because she had no way of doing it while she was in a tent or an igloo on Macquarie Island. And they said she'd taken too long to put in her claim. But now that's been sorted and it's been accepted by WorkCover. We're not talking about $1 million here. We're not talking about a dodgy claim. We're talking about fairness in relation to an interesting thing. If you do injure any part of your body, it requires ice putting on it on Macquarie Island. You don't have to put ice on it because it's minus 20 degrees there anyway and windy, so everything's going to be good. That's quite reassuring from that point of view. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Gloves are off with Wesfarmers.
Well, as we speak about, like we've spoken about this the last few weeks that I've been on, is that people are feeling the pinch and people are turning to a lot more crime to try and keep up lifestyles that society dictate that we need to have value. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, and Bunnings and Kmart well, even David Jones, like all shops are bearing the brunt of this. So it's hard.
All supermarkets, all the big supermarkets are. Now, Andrew has been trying to get his business license down in Victoria. He's been jumping through the hoops, and those hoops are ringed hoops on fire. Just like Casey had her trainer's license, she had to jump through all the hoops. And as Casey said, just then, people are getting impatient now, and it's tough times. Down in Canberra, they've had to issue a notification to all RTOs for security guard licensing because the staff at the licensing authority are getting abused by the applicants. So this was sent out. This is a shame on the security industry. They don't have private investigator licensing in Canberra. So Amber's not guilty of anything, Danny. She hasn't done anything wrong. Amber is completely innocent. She's not involved in this, right? She didn't get angry, right? So absolutely no suggestion of that, all right, because it never happens. But the licensing authority for security guards in Canberra had to issue something like a 6-page explanation of stop picking on our staff. They've got a lot to get through. They've got to be done right. People are doing false documents and not filling in forms and stuff like that. And I felt that was a pretty sad reflection on the security industry. It doesn't include investigators, but that was something that came out in the news this week, as well as Amber being innocent. So that's quite reassuring. Andrew, thanks. She's not listening. She might be on a break. Hang on. It's 2:41 in Canberra. It's probably an hour's break now, so probably have a smoke home. All right, people. Andrew, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate that.
No worries, mate. That's all right. Just reading what Amber said there. It's running license required in ACT. Well,
Yeah, not for investigators.
No, not for investigators. No license required whatsoever. Okay, so if the investigation involves you going across the border to interview a witness or inspect the scene, then you need a license. So keep that in mind. So that's right, Amber. Must follow the rules like Amber.
Don't tell him that, Bea. Jesus. God.
don't get Mike started. You can't get Mike started. You get him started, you won't get him to stop.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Casey reckons I rabbit on, so I got the big rabbit on lecture this week. It's my program. I'll do what I like. Thanks for watching, people. Have a great investigation week. Thanks, Andrew Bulldog. Thanks, Casey Pine. Thanks, everybody, for your input.
Thank you for clarification. Oh, God.
We're going to go, people. We're going to get in trouble. They're going to shut us down on YouTube and Facebook. So have a great weekend, everyone. Have a great investigation week, investigators. Casey will be back. Andrew's going to be back investigation duty next week. Casey will be back with Spy Curious next week. I'm in Melbourne conducting recognition of prior learning interviews this time next week. I'm booked out for the whole day. Sorry I won't be able to see you then. See you in the new year for that. And have a great weekend, everybody. See you soon. Thanks for watching. We'll go out in the usual way. And if I can find it. No, we won't go out in the usual way. We'll just call it quits. See ya.